Would you rather make a story about good versus evil or good versus good?
Oh, I think probably good versus evil. That's always it's just such a fun. I mean, my initial gut reaction is making a story of good versus evil. I mean, that's like so steeped in our society as humans. I mean, warring with the gods, way back in the day, those are the stories we were coming up with. So I think that's just ingrained in our culture. Excuse me, ingrained in our culture. So I immediately gravitate towards that. And when I think of stories of good versus evil, they always sound epic. So like making these big fantasy epics is very exciting. But that said, good versus good is something that's more fascinating from a character perspective. And I think it's more challenging to write, stuff like that, Good versus evil is a lot easier to write because it's the villain who wants to take over world domination or something like that. That's an easy thing to go up against, but if it's a good versus good, I want custody of the kids, husband and wife getting a divorce. They're both good people. Each one wants the child, and they're both good people. Ooh, that's much more. That is very interesting to write. It requires a lot more of you, I think, as a storyteller to actually pull a story like that off, because now you're trying to put the audience in a position of, which one do I root for? That's really a challenge in a great way. I still think I would normally gravitate towards good versus evil because it's just so great, to fight the villain or Darth Vader or whatever it is. Ironically, Darth Vader becomes a good guy at the end, but I tend to gravitate towards stories more like that. But I think as I get older, I do like more of the nuanced, complex human conflicts. It just requires more of you to write it, and it's more of a challenge.
You talked about good versus good. Well, you could say Kramer versus Kramer.
Yep.
That was good versus good, and that was an extremely compelling film.
Yeah.
And difficult to watch and want to root for, I don't know, either side. But in terms of good versus evil, it seems like the quote-unquote evil always thinks that they're good.
Yeah.
So it could initially be a story of, someone who thinks they're actually doing the right thing.
It's true.
And
which those kinds of stories, if you're making good versus evil, it is the, for lack of a better term, the lazier writing approach to just make them evil for the sake of being evil. That is I guess you could make it easier to hate or whatever. They're just villains for the sake. You see bad action movies like this. Well, bad movies in general are like this. But, I mean, any writing class will tell you that that's not the best way to make a villain. It's much better when because think of it in life. No one actually thinks they're evil. No, I don't even think Hitler actually thought he was doing the world a favor, right? Yeah. So if you want to make it compelling, I mean, my previous feature before Abandon was about angels and demons. And we wrote all the demons in a way that they actually thought they were doing good. So that was a very interesting writing challenge to how do you make something as evil as that justified in their actions? How do they actually justify what they do? It really pushes you. And it pulls you in a lot more as an audience, I think. It demands a lot more maturity from you as the artist. Because you can just think about it from the actor perspective too. Instead of this mustache twirling, if you go to the actor and say, I want you to be the mustache twirling villain, versus I want you to, they're trying to take away your home. That's how you see this. You'll see such a much deeper performance from your actor that will, in the end, be more terrifying. I've had moments with actors where I will tell them, you're doing something really heinous here, but you're doing it because you're personally offended by what they did to you. Like it actually hurts you. It makes you even sad, and they'll do this performance almost with tears in their eyes, but it makes it so much more terrifying because you could tell how deeply they feel. Ooh, love that. I love that. So is that good versus good? I don't know. It depends on the perspective of the character, I guess, you know? But it's definitely a much more... I answered your question, and now I'm changing my mind as I'm answering it, because I think that a good versus good, if you look at it from the perspective of the character, that's what the best stories are. Up for debate.
Yes.
Up for debate. Leave your comments below.